Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial.
And I'm Libby Jones. I run this channel.
So, it is the 1-year anniversary of us starting to create videos 5 days a week.
And we started about a year and a half or 2 years ago making videos like once a week. So we really upped our content since quarantine started.
And that's exactly the case. It was the quarantine. We both run the Battleship's education program, which normally means giving tours of the ship. And when we lost the ability to do that because of the quarantine, we tried to transition into a digital way of giving tours of the ship. And the medium we already had to do that was the YouTube channel that we had recently started. In today's video, we're going to run through what Libby and my own top 10 favorite videos that we've made are. These are mostly videos we've made in the last year, although some of them might be from before that, and we'd like to talk a little bit about them. And before we go any further, check the description below. The links for all of the videos we're going to talk about today are down there. So if you're new to the channel, you haven't seen these, or you haven't been around for the full year, go back and check out some of these videos. They are our absolute favorite of the nearly 500 that we've made.
Well, yeah, with 500 videos, we expect you to have seen all of them, right? Everyone should have seen them all.
How many hours of content is that?
So we made in the last year about 65 hours of new content, plus probably a couple hundred hours of oral history interviews that we posted. So if you don't know, we also post interviews with former sailors pretty much every single day. We've been doing that for the last couple of months, really hardcore. So definitely look for those too. We're not going to talk too much about those on our list though.
Yeah, so in the off chance that you haven't watched all 500, here are the 10 that we think you should start with. What's number 10, Libby?
Number 10, would an Iowa survive the sinking of the Bismarck?
Oh. So this one is a relatively new video, but it is one of my absolute favorites. Not just this one, but all of them in this series. The whole concept of if we drop an Iowa-class battleship into a major wrecking event for another contemporary, would she have been able to survive any better? And do you remember what our decision was with Iowa here?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending if she would survive. Could she have run away in the first place? Maybe, but if they'd caught her, she probably wouldn't have survived the rest of the attack.
Oh yeah, Bismarck was definitely in a disaster tree that ended with Dorsetshire torpedoing her and sinking her while her crew tried to scuttle a ship that was already utterly destroyed. So other videos in this series we've already got include could New Jersey have survived the attack on Pearl Harbor, and could New Jersey have survived what destroyed HMS Hood? There are a number of other videos in this series I want to make, such as could New Jersey have survived Force Z in December of 41? Could she have survived what destroyed Yamato and Musashi? Could she have survived the raid on Toronto? There's lots of different content that I want to talk about there. And this really ties in a lot to our ship comparison video where we compare New Jersey to other contemporary battleships and see how they stack up. So be sure to check out all the videos in those playlists, but start with, could we have survived the hunt for the Bismarck?
One of the things I like most about that video, though, is that so many of you at home have decided to share your thoughts with us, because it is really speculative. There is no clean-cut, yes, it would or it wouldn't. So it gives a lot of people a chance to sort of give their sort of thoughts on things. We like to do that. We want to hear from you. We want to know what it is you think. And I do read every single one of your comments. All of them.
Yeah, and that's a trend for, I think, all the videos on this list are highly commented on, and we absolutely love that, because, again, this isn't the museum's opinion, this isn't even necessarily Libby's opinion, this is my opinion about stuff, and I love to hear your points of view, and whether you think I'm right, whether you agree with it, whether you think I'm wrong, if you have new information that I don't have. I've read a bunch of books on this, explored a bunch of museum ships, but I certainly don't know everything.
Number 9, gun drill.
So, this was one of the videos we shot when we visited historic ships in Baltimore. I absolutely love our series where we go out to other museum ships. But for those of you who don't know, Libby and I both started our museum ship careers with the Historic Ships in Baltimore collection. And one of their ships, Constellation, has some Civil War artillery on board, and they do a program on there every day that they're open just about, where they let visitors actually run through the 14 steps of a gun drill and see if they can operate a Civil War era piece of artillery like the original gun crew would, and if they can match the one shot every 3 minutes requirement of that gun crew.
One of the things I like most about that video, though, is it's been a few years since you've done that program, and you can still go through the exact steps and the exact commands that the gun captain would give people. So it gives a very sort of rounded version of how gun drill actually works.
That's true. It's been almost a decade since I was a tour guide on Constellation giving that program regularly. And 14 steps sounds like a lot to go through, but really they're not a whole heck of a lot different from the steps in a modern gun drill with a 16-inch gun. They really stick with you.
The question we always get from that video, though, is can we go through the same process with the 16-inch guns? And sort of, but it's not as mechanical. It requires more equipment that we don't really have. So it was nice to be able to do it with a cannon-sized gun versus R16s.
And that's what's really cool about Constellation as a museum ship. If you haven't gotten to Baltimore to visit her, make sure she's on your list. Because here, you push a button and something is done. On there, everything is man-powered. Absolutely everything. So when you're running through the 14 steps of the gun drill, you can actually do it and haul the gun in place and use the ram or whatnot. On here, you push a button to blow compressed air through the gun, or you push a button to drop open the powder car door to allow the powder bags to roll into the tray, and you push a lever to ram them home. So you can actually see what's happening. In our videos, even if we talk through the gun drill, it's just me standing in a tight gun pit telling you what would have happened. You can't actually see it the way you can in this video.
One of the things that you don't see in that video that makes me love that video even more is that while we were filming that video, they were setting up Constellation to be receiving the Secretary of the Navy.
Secretary Brightwaith, yes.
And we've talked about that sort of interaction a couple of times, but it put us in the right place at the right time to get to meet him. So it just ended up being one of those perfect days.
And meeting Secretary Brightwaith, who's a huge supporter of naval history, started the dominoes falling that allowed us to get on USS Charleston to strip the battleship spare parts that were held in her hold. So yeah, that was a really special day, and that might be part of the reason why this is on here. But we love being able to manually operate Civil War artillery so much that here's a special announcement for you guys that you're going to hear before anyone else. The museum is in the process of acquiring our own Civil War artillery that we can use for our own activities. And we're going to try and get some early rifled guns that are the predecessors to our 16-inch guns, which are built up of a series of bands. So we want to be able to do activities like that and show what some of the first rotating, rifled, built-up style guns compared to the guns that this ship was built with can do. So stay tuned in the next couple of months for that.
Definitely bet we'll be making some videos about that equipment.
Oh, I don't know that I have much to say about it.
Next on our list, number 8, catacombs.
Oh, so this is the first of, I think, a couple videos on this list that involves me crawling through tight spaces with poor Libby dragged along behind me. What's happening in the silent spaces where the sound cuts out in that video?
Well, we can't tell you exactly what happens in the silent spaces of that video. You'll find in many of us our videos of what some people like to call our claustrophobia series, where the sound cuts out, and basically that is sometimes Ryan, usually me, running into something, and the not so nice things I have to say about it. those, for if you haven't seen it, we'll show you some pictures and some video of the size of it. Definitely watch the video. But those hatches are a little hard to get through, period. Never mind while trying to hold a camera as steady as humanly possible. I'd say that this is also a prime example of our series that looks at Ryan's backside for a large amount of the video. So sorry about that.
You can get it you get a really good indication of how much rust I've sat in on that particular day from views like that.
Also why Ryan goes through so many pairs of pants working here. But one of the things that we also really like about that video is it's something that some of the other museum ships have also followed suit on. We are one of the earlier museum ships that took our YouTube channel really seriously.
We're the only one that's creating daily content for you. But, yeah, that space isn't called the catacombs. It's just a name we came up for it after seeing it and trying to crawl through it. It's really like a wiring trunk or cabling passage or something like that on the booklet of general plans. But even after we started calling that, other museum ships that are copying that style of video are also using that keyword. And that makes us feel really great as content creators that this has been really great for our museum, creating a YouTube channel and reaching out to people who couldn't otherwise come out and visit the ship. And we're so glad that other museum ships are going to get involved and come out and create their own content and do that too.
So some of the other museums that are creating content that you should look for are Iowa. She went through her catacombs as well. You might have seen, and we've got some hints of it here, our trip to Battleship Cove. They're producing some great videos too. USS the Sullivans is also creating content. You might have seen some of their stuff out there.
Across the river, our friends Greg and Kevin are creating videos about Olympia and Bakuna. A couple of other museum ships have done one-off videos, but haven't really created series the way we have. But I'm sure they will going forward.
USS North Carolina has a podcast and occasionally does videos too. Yeah. Mostly they're doing a podcast, so similar idea to us.
Absolutely. And they might be the only museum ship that's really doing that at this point. Anyway, we're so proud of our YouTube content that we are doing a presentation about it for the Council of American Maritime Museums. When is that? It's mid-April?
Mid-April.
Yeah, so we're going to be speaking at that council to other similar museum ships, and we're going to take that presentation on the road after Cam will probably also do other museum conferences and talk about our successes and our failures with the YouTube channel and try and get other people creating content like this for you guys. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, it's only going to be a half hour long, so that's kind of short for somebody like me. But be sure to look up CAM, the Council of American Maritime Museums, and their annual conference.
Number 7. How long can a museum ship last?
Oh, I love this one. This is part of a series we've done talking specifically about museum ships. And obviously, Libby and I, having worked in museum ships for almost a combined 2 decades. I'm at 14 years. You're at 3, 4?
No, I'm at 6.
You're at 6? Oh,
I'm at 6.
We did hit 2 decades. So yeah, but with all of our experience working in museum ships and our relationships with other people who work in museum ships, we've picked up a lot of information about how you preserve these things long term. And it's a brand new thing. We've basically only been doing this since the late 40s. So it's still something that we're learning and messing up at often. So I love this series of videos where we talk about it with you guys. I feel like it's educational for you, and a lot of the comments you give us says as much. But this one, How Long Can a Museum Ship Last, is my favorite of that whole series so far.
One of the things that I like about that series, though, is we really started it because maintenance came to us, and we've got a really great maintenance crew on board.
Love those guys.
And they're really good about coming to us and saying, hey, we need to do something. So if they're making changes to the ship or really whatever their new project is, they do like to check in with us first to make sure that they are doing it in a way that is not just going to solve the problem, but is aesthetically and functionally pleasing and historically appropriate. So they came to us and they said, hey, this pipe is leaking. We're going to cut it off. So we went up to sort of investigate it, and we're standing there talking around, this and that, and, this is what needs to happen. And I think I came to you and was like, this would make a great video. And we sort of laughed, and we're like, we're just standing at a rusting pipe. But it's something that we realized was a great conversation that we wanted to share with you. So we did, and that video was very popular. So thus we've sort of kept making videos about what it's sort of like working in a museum and the different issues that we run into and things that people always ask us about how we preserve these ships and what their future is, which a lot of the time the answer is, we don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. We can look at ships that have gone through similar things in the past, but an Iowa-class battleship has never been 200 years old. We're not sure what's going to happen to her.
Yeah.
Number 6, inside of Battleship Massachusetts' boiler.
Oh, yeah, here's another one where I get to crawl inside of space. And, reading about all these ship systems and things really makes me want to see it. Like, I've heard about you have to crawl in and replace fire brick, and that this is where the fire happens, and that there's water tubes in there and whatnot. But never been able to climb in and see it. And Massachusetts' boilers in some of their fire rooms, or I guess they have combined engineering spaces on South Dakota-class battleships, but in some of those spaces have been pretty well taken apart. So we were able to figure out how to do that. Which means that now I know how to do it on our boilers, and you can probably expect a video about that in the near future. It really helps me learn how these things work to be able to climb inside and see it for myself. And of course, you guys get to come along for the ride.
So one of the things that I liked most about that video, though, is our trip to Battleship Cove in early January of 2021. We were there for like 2.5 days tops, and we managed to film 17 videos while we were there. So we would get up before dawn and film until midnight. So we filmed that video at like 11:30 at night.
Oh shit, that's right, yeah.
After a 18-hour day. So, and it was 20 degrees in there. So we're very, very cold and very, very tired.
And very, very sore.
And very, very sore. And then suddenly very, very filthy. So it was one of those things where under ideal circumstances, we would have devoted half of a day to doing this and being able to go in. And if we had all of the time in the world and all the resources that you see from some channels out there, you'll see that they could take the time to put all of this equipment in place, whereas it's 11:30 at night after all of that. And
Did you just hand me a flashlight to like hold under me so you could actually see me in that? That is one of the problem with the Ryan Crawling Through Tight Spaces series, or the Claustrophobia series. It really echoes in these spaces. There's really poor lighting in these spaces, and there isn't enough room for you to get like a really wide-angle camera shot. It's got to be up close, and then you still can't see anything. So I realize some of those videos aren't the greatest to watch, and they don't seem like the greatest from a production view, but they find me someone who can do it better in the time that we have to do it, because making these videos is not our main job.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I think that a lot of our viewers don't know, is what else do we do with our time? And that's always been a big impact on our videos. We don't script them ever.
There's no time to write a script.
There's no time for that. We don't really have a lot of time to plan them. We mostly plan our videos by sort of when we're walking the tour route to open it. It's, hey, do you think we could do a video on sinking the Maine? Yeah, I think we could do that. That's tomorrow. So we don't have time to do too much planning. So a lot of times while Ryan explains to me what our video is going to be about, because sometimes they're content I've never even heard of, I go, what if we did that at a 5-inch gun? What if we did that here or there? And as Ryan talks to the camera, then I go, well, that's something I don't understand. Can you explain that to me? I think that's why we make such a good pair. You have all of the knowledge in the world, and I am more of a regular person who goes, this is what people are going to ask. Not to mention I've read literally millions of your comments, so I have a pretty good idea of what our viewer is going to ask. And yes, the answer is Ryan did brush his hair today.
It's just really windy here on the river.
Number 5, dry docking Slater.
Oh, so it's so cool that since we started creating these contents, other museum ships have asked for us to get involved and show off some of what they're doing and asked for our help. And in some cases, we've reached out to them and said, hey, I hear you're doing something cool. Can we come help and film a video while we're there? And in doing that, we've been able to dry dock 2 ships so far. We got a couple others on the radar coming up. Stay tuned for that sort of stuff. But yeah, dry docking Slater, a much smaller, though contemporary vessel to this one. And one that's in immaculate shape and in World War II condition. Unlike us, where we've been modernized throughout the years, they've been able to restore her to near World War II condition. And I only say near because they're still working on a few things, and within a year or two, they might have a perfect World War II ship.
So one of the things that I like most about the dry docking Slater video, though, so we've dry docked 2 ships in this content channel. We did Slater and we did Taney. For Taney, we did a whole lot of work to help with that ship.
That's true.
We spent many days with wrenches opening tanks. I climbed inside of a boiler to clean it. That was not fun. But with Slater, we just got to enjoy the show. We were mostly there to just see what was happening and film videos. So that was really nice for us.
They have a really great volunteer force there. So even with us there to help, they didn't actually make us get too dirty. And they fed us.
Oh, that was nice. They've got a fully working galley, unlike ours, because they don't have the rules in place that we do that say that we're not allowed to use our galley.
That's true, because they are not they didn't come to the museum from the U.S. Navy. They came to them from the Greek Navy, so they've got a whole different set of agreements with them.
One of the things I also really like about our Slater dry dock videos is we film them while the ship was moving. But as she's coming up out of the water, we're filming videos. And then when she came out of the water, we're filming videos in other places. So from an editing standpoint, I'm going to tell you that those were my least favorite videos we've worked with, because we would film one in one place and then we'd say, hey, while we're here, we could film this other video even though we haven't finished the first one. So we spent a lot of time going, what was that one for? So we learned some things that day for sure on that. But you'll also find that filming those videos, you get a really good feel for the dry dock itself just from the audio. Because most of those videos are, hi, I'm Ryan. It's really loud, but we're here. So
yeah, no amount of sound equipment could help us with all of that work going on around us.
Because in addition to the equipment that is, once we were actually out of the water, they've got all of these pressure washers that are cleaning the bottom of the ship. And you've got cranes moving around. You just have lots and lots of heavy equipment that we, even with our noisy battleship that we're used to, we still can't combat that in Slater. But a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Hope to do some more dry dockings in the near future.
Number 4, disposing of an OBA canister.
Oh, we don't get to do many chemistry experiments on this channel. So finding an OBA that was working and being able to expend it in one of the OBA masks, oxygen breathing apparatus, and then using water to render the chemical reaction inside the canister inert so we could then put it on display safely. That is a really, really cool video that we shot pretty early on. That was before the pandemic?
No, it was during the pandemic because we were still in charge of manning quarterdeck that day. We're some of the few staff who's been holding down the ship.
Right, we'd been brought back in to open the ship, so we were shooting this video and then taking the mask off to go and greet people as they were coming on and then going back to...
It was quite some running back and forth. I think for a while you were standing at quarterdeck with the full OBA on so I could go greet guests. But then you're just standing there with the mask on going, please hurry up, I'm breathing and whatever. So,
the chemicals weren't too caustic. The really cool thing about OBAs is they have an enunciator on the face mask so you can actually talk through this rubber mask and people can hear you.
But you sound like Darth Vader when you wear it.
Yeah, not that the kids coming onto the ship that day wanted me to greet them like that.
It's a little scary. But I think one of the things that I liked most about that video is that we we did some of the work prior to filming. We wanted to see what happened. We don't normally do that sort of level of prep work. We mostly just drag a camera out and we see what happens. But we did wanted to see, was it going to explode? Was it going to just sink and that was that, and maybe a couple of bubbles? So we did test a couple out before the one that we show you in the video. And we ended up doing maybe 4 canisters we had found that needed to get disposed of.
I think it was twice that number.
Yeah, there was quite a few. So we got the chance to sort of play with different reactions to it. And when we first did it, it has this big reaction at first, and then it kind of sizzles out. And it just kind of bubbles. So we had walked away from it, and then Ryan went back to it at one point to check on it, and then is on the phone. And then while he's on the phone, he looks down and the thing is bubbling like crazy again. So we sort of learned that there is a secondary portion of the reaction that we wouldn't have known about because we had sort of dismissed it after that first reaction was done. So we got really lucky that we caught that second half. I think it's because the whatever's in it is enough to sink it down, so then it turns over and causes the reaction to shift.
Yeah, I think there's 2 chambers worth of chemicals, and maybe one day we'll cut one of these canisters open and see what the inside looks like. But it seemed like at a certain point, the water flooding one chamber and causing a reaction allowed it to flip over enough that the water got into the second chamber and reignited, so to speak. But that's why we were rendering them inert and not leaving them out in some storage area or, God forbid, on the tour route.
But I think that video is also a really good example of we don't always know everything. We have an idea of how things should be and how they should work, but sometimes you have to just do it and see it firsthand. So a lot of our claustrophobia series or this chemistry experiment are, well, we know what to expect, but we don't fully know what's going to happen. So that was a really good one for us.
Yeah, from looking at blueprints, or in the case of the OBAs, from talking to other people from museum ships who have had to dispose of these, and former sailors who say, oh God, yeah, if we had these laying around, we'd go out into international waters and pitch them into deep water, and that would be that. So we really wanted to see what would happen. And if you're another museum ship person, we might be the only people with this out on film. So rather than doing this yourself, maybe check out what we've done and get an idea first.
We fortunately have a pretty good setup here for testing that sort of thing. We did learn that the water that bubbles out of it is a little caustic. So definitely we urge caution to anybody trying that. Oh, number 3. Number 3 is our most popular video of all time. What the Navy doesn't like about the Iowas.
This is one of my favorites, obviously number 3. I love Iowa-class battleships, but there were things that the Navy wanted to do to make them better. And this was one of the few where I was able to research in a lot of different books. People like Freeman's U.S. Naval Battleships, Illustrated Design History, which you can get from Naval Institute Press. That's one of my Bibles. If you are into battleships and you don't have a copy of this, you're doing yourself a disservice. But that book and others, mostly from Naval Institute Press, list a bunch of different things that the Navy either had planned to do to the ships or that they modified in designs for future ships or later ships in this class. And so I just wanted to go around this ship and talk about some of the different areas where the designers did things one way and then thought afterwards, there's a better way to do it. These ships are the pinnacle of battleships in the U.S. Navy, but they're not perfect. Unlike us, of course.
Oh, of course. One of the things that I like about that video, though, is it is one of our early-ish. Like we said, we've been making these videos for about 2 years. So you'll find that it is very raw. It is what we think and what we wanted to share with you.
Unscripted, yeah.
Unscripted. We don't have the frills and the special effects. And people always ask us, well, why can't you do like a map with the moving ships? And it's just not really doable for how we work around here. But what we do have is an Iowa-class battleship. So while we may not have had any of the cool special effects with that video, we show you the ship as we go. So the sound, not so great, but we've got Ryan smushed between a barbette and a bulkhead, and sort of talking about what makes the ships problematic.
There are some really great content creators out there who are able to make those sorts of digital videos, and you should absolutely look them up. But the things that we have that no other content creator has is an Iowa-class battleship.
So we try and show it off.
Nobody has the kinds of behind-the-scenes access we do, even on our sister ships.
That is an interesting thing to consider, too, is that each of these ships in their own locations have their own rules of where you can go and what you can do. So we really have full run of the ship. People ask us all the time, is there anywhere that you're not allowed to go? And we definitely take some safety precautions. We don't like climbing in fuel tanks unless we know that there is air in there. And we know what things are safe and not safe for us to do, but generally, because everywhere is well ventilated on board, we can crawl around most anywhere. And we know we have enough procedures in place that we can navigate really well. We know what needs to happen if someone gets stuck. And really, I feel like out of the two of us, despite the fact that you're the one who explores more, I think I'm the only one who's ever been stuck inside of a ship.
Yeah. I got you out.
Yeah. Somebody closed a door behind me, not knowing I was still in there. But we found me eventually.
She makes a lot of noise.
Fortunately, there was a catwalk there, so eventually someone heard me from the catwalk. Oops.
If you just stuck with the group, you would have been fine.
I think that's one of the other keys to what we do, is we're very good at setting our own boundaries. So a lot of times when you'll see Ryan go off with a GoPro on its head, it's because I decided that I didn't feel comfortable doing that. And that's really key to doing it safely, is knowing where your boundaries are. That's how I managed to get stuck somewhere, is because I decided that I didn't feel comfortable on a ladder. So even though you see us do a lot of things that seem pretty dangerous, at the end of the day, we know I can climb this vertical ladder because there is only a 2-foot drop. If I fall, I'll be fine. So we're pretty good at setting our own boundaries of what we feel cool with.
There is a little bit of a size difference between us that allows me to grab onto things above your head.
That was a key to that particular one, is there was a scuttle directly above us, and there's like a foot gap between the ladder and the scuttle that you kind of had to go around. Or the ladder that we climbed into to do the conning tower climb. The first rung of the ladder is like waist high on me. Number 2, Project Katie.
Oh. So this is one of those topics that there's a lot of misinformation about out there, or incomplete information out there, because the writers, the historians who are writing about this classified information don't have all the information. And we don't either, but we do have the ship where it happened, where these nuclear projectiles were supposed to have been stored. So we were able to look around and find what were probably the remnants of that setup. And then this video also shows how we were able to collaborate with our coworkers at other museum ships out there to see if they have similar things, because the various Iowa-class battleships received or didn't receive various upgrades related to nuclear projectiles.
One of the things that I really liked about our Project Katie video is it was part of a larger series on all things nuclear. So it's something that I've been asking for months, because we wanted to do it for the 75th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bombs. So that one is part of a larger series we definitely recommend checking out.
Oh, also, as part of this video exploring different magazine spaces, we learned how a lot of the equipment in there worked and what some of the common features were and what this particular magazine was lacking in features. So it led to some other videos about magazines and 16-inch shell handling and whatnot, which is something that seems to be a pretty popular topic on here.
Definitely a lot of our videos are made because we walk up to something and go, what is that? Or I go, what is that? And Ryan goes, oh, well, that's a step-down transformer. Okay, is it interesting? And he'll tell me about it for a while. And Ryan often thinks that some of these things are boring because we get a little jaded around here, right? We have a battleship. That's just another powder bag. That's just another. But why is it different? Like that's what I'll notice first. And we'll talk about it for a while. And eventually we'll get Ryan excited about it. But that's a lot of what we do is, well, that doesn't sound that exciting. We don't have that much to share yet. And Project Katie was definitely one of those. We don't have that much to share. We don't know that much.
Until we started talking to our peers at the other ships and doing some more research. It's one of the few videos where we knew we wanted to do something. We thought we had something cool, so we took the time to research it a lot more than a normal video. Number one, the barrel crawl. This is my all-time favorite video. It's something that I've seen black and white footage of sailors doing back during World War II, and I've always wanted to do it, ever since I was a little kid and I could have actually fit. So we actually made a video where I crawl through a 16-inch gun barrel.
This video represents one of the most stressful days of my life. We had precautions put in place, and we had worked out a plan if he got stuck, and Ryan was very confident he wouldn't get stuck, but I was extremely nervous that he was going to get stuck. And we included a couple of bits in the video of...
You were really nervous that if I got stuck, you would lose your GoPro forever.
There was that. I wanted my GoPro back. But there are a couple of shots that I included in the video of me and Elena, who's usually our third member of our team. Sometimes we'll have a fourth, too. Standing there at the end of the gun barrel, sort of looking on nervously. Because that video for most of the barrel crawl is Ryan in the dark, sort of reaching the hand out into the light. So we sort of wanted to give a little bit of perspective, and you can see that we put on a very brave face for Ryan, but we're definitely nervous that he wasn't coming back out.
You see, I'm 19 inches across the shoulder. A 16-inch gun barrel, obviously, is 16 inches across. So it took some finagling. We really should have done this about 20 years ago.
Yeah. We also did it on the hottest day of the year. So we're out there. I was hot watching you do that.
I figured I would need some self-lubrication to make it through.
Yeah, if you watch the video, you'll definitely see that his shirt is nice and soaked through from all the sweat, and the rifle marks on your shirt.
Yeah, well, some of that's gun oil. It's not all sweat. But that is why I don't dress like you might think of a traditional curator in a building sitting behind a desk wearing a tweed jacket with elbow pads. Iowa-class battleships have a lot of hydraulic fluid and oil and dirt and other stuff lying around, and especially if we're just walking around doing our normal jobs and we see something that we want to shoot a video about for tomorrow, we end up crawling through it.
Well, and that's the thing, is that while climbing through a gun barrel may not be the day-to-day for us, just regular things like this afternoon, I'd really like to get into our anchor windlass room and change the hydraulic collection pads in there. Not the most glamorous parts of our job, but important parts of our jobs, which means we wear a lot of coveralls and greasy clothes. So we are very different from, say, an art museum curator. We do spend a lot of time doing research, and we spend time talking to our colleagues about things that we're researching. And we do still have new exhibits. You'll see some great new videos about them coming up soon. And we do some of the classic museum things, but with a battleship, it's just not quite the same fight.
So these have been our top 10 favorite videos, particularly in the last year during the pandemic when we've been shooting at least 5 videos a week. What was your favorite video? Let us know in the comments section down below. Be sure to go back and watch all of these videos, and when you do, drop a comment on them and say that you got there from this video, and yeah, it's probably one of your top 10 too, or no, you really think we should redo it, do it better. The thing that has allowed us to make videos every day of the week are the donations from viewers like you. We've also received an operating grant from the New Jersey Department of State and from other individual and organizational sponsors, but it's the donations from viewers like you who specifically say that you watch the videos and you want to support that have allowed us to make this a major part of our job. So we appreciate your support. and we appreciate your continued support. In addition to the links down below for the other videos you should go back and check out, there's also a link to our website where you can donate money and let us know that that you want it to go towards this program and us making more videos in the future. And the more you donate, the more we're able to do, the better our videos become, the more equipment we're able to buy, and the more time we're able to devote to these.
They definitely have improved a lot in the last year.
Yeah, you'll notice that as you go back through some of these older ones.
We got a microphone at one point. Thank you.
And lastly, remember to like, share, and subscribe so that when you're notified when the next 500 videos are released in 2021. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for allowing us to have fun and make these videos.